But of course, when culture is attacked this way, there needs to be a response of some sort. And indeed, two very prominent Jewish authors of this period responded to the Hellenistic attacks on Judaism. These would be Philo of Alexandria, writing in the 1st century BCE, and a century later Josephus, writing in Palestine, Rome, a century later. And what they did is they tried to explain Moses and the Exodus to their Hellenistic peers. And what's interesting about the way that they did this is they didn't defend Israel's distinctiveness. But instead what they did was they took the Exodus story and they effectively Hellenized it to make it comprehensible to a Greco-Roman audience. So Josephus presents Moses as a paragon of Hellenistic virtues. He's a great general. He's a brilliant orator. He's an exemplar of stoicism. He's also a philosopher and a lawgiver, right? Like Plato and Pericles, right? Josephus makes all these direct comparisons. He literally, Philo literally, Philo now turning to, literally describes Moses as passing his idle time studying philosophy, while wandering 40 years in the desert. What did he do? Well, he whiled away his time reading his philosophy and studying, as you can see in this quote here. Philo makes Moses like this ideal Platonic philosopher king. Philo also, interestingly, makes Israel into something more even than a group of escaped slaves, as the Bible has it. He describes the Exodus actually as the colonization of Canaan, which is, of course, a concept that in the Greco-Roman imperial context would have made all the sense in the world. An interesting element of how Josephus and Philo tell the Exodus stories is both of them actually leave the Sinai covenant out entirely. And again, this is like a nod toward assimilation, right? Jews, yes, we may have different practices, but it's not like we have some separate deal with God. Right? We do things a little differently, and they explain that in other places. But our story is like a good, normal Greco-Roman story. You guys should understand who we are, right? We're just like you. In retrospect, it's kind of a weird move to use the Exodus story of all things to argue that Jews aren't actually distinctive, but instead share in the cultural values of their Hellenistic context, because of course the Exodus story in the Bible was the very thing that made Israel distinctive. But again, here you can see that this is the story around which identity was built, whether it was distinctive identity or assimilating identity.